For months, fans around the world had been waiting for this moment, the day CanYaman would finally speak from the heart. The actor, known for his strength, confidence, and mysterious aura, had always been careful with his words. But this time, something was different. His silence had turned heavy, his posts more melancholic, and his eyes, once full of fire, seemed to carry a quiet sadness that no one could ignore. Rumors had already started spreading weeks before. Whispers that something had changed inside him. Some said it was about his career, others claimed it was personal. But when he finally sat down for an exclusive interview, no one was prepared for what he was about to confess. The studio lights dimmed, and the cameras rolled. He sat there, dressed simply in black, a calm presence masking the storm that clearly brewed inside him. The interviewer smiled gently and said, "Can, people say you've been distant lately. What's been on your mind?" There was a long pause. He took a deep breath, his eyes dropping for a moment, before he looked straight into the camera and said softly, "Sometimes, moving on doesn't mean forgetting. Sometimes, it means learning to live with what your heart still remembers." The interviewer froze. It was the kind of sentence that carried the weight of years. "Are you talking about someone?" she asked carefully. Can gave a faint smile. "I'm talking about a chapter of my life that never really closed. Maybe it never was supposed to." And just like that, the air in the studio changed. Viewers watching from home felt it instantly. This wasn't a media performance. This was real. This was raw. He went on, his voice calm but trembling slightly. "There are things you think you've left behind, until one day, you realize they still live inside you. Some people don't just pass through your life, they shape it." The interviewer leaned forward. "Are we talking about Demet Özdemir?" Can didn't look away. For a few seconds, he said nothing. Then, with a quiet exhale, he whispered, "Some stories don't need to be repeated. But yes, some names never fade." That was all it took. In those few words, the world stopped breathing. Within minutes, clips of the interview spread across social media like wildfire. #CanYaman confession and #Demet became global trends. Fans across Italy, Turkey, and Spain flooded the internet with shock and emotion. Comments poured in, "He finally said it. This is the confession we've been waiting for. His heart still belongs to her." It wasn't just a confession, it was a revelation. Entertainment outlets immediately picked up the story. One Turkish magazine headlined, "CanYaman, his heart still beats for Demet." While an Italian newspaper declared, "Can's words move the world, some names never fade." Behind the cameras, crew members said he sat quietly for a long time after the interview ended, staring at the floor, lost in thought. One of them shared privately, "He didn't plan to say her name. It just came out. You could feel it, it wasn't acting." That night, he posted a single message on his Instagram story, white text on a black background, "The truth is simple. We just take too long to say it." The post vanished after 24 hours, but the internet never forgot. What truth was he referring to? Was it about love, regret, or a moment he wished he could relive? Fans began revisiting old interviews, photos, and behind-the-scenes moments, searching for signs, for the smallest detail that might confirm what everyone already believed deep down. This wasn't just nostalgia. This was the story of two souls who had shared something real, something unforgettable, and something that, even after years, refused to die. The confession spread like wildfire. Within hours, every entertainment site, every tabloid, and every social media platform was talking about it. The man who had guarded his emotions so fiercely had finally let a piece of his heart show, and it sent the world into shock. On Twitter, hashtags like #CanYaman forever, #CanYaman confession, and #NeverFade were trending in multiple countries. Clips from the interview reached millions of views within a day. Fans translated his words into dozens of languages. Every country had the same reaction: disbelief, heartbreak, and an overwhelming sense of nostalgia. One Italian host opened her show that evening by saying, "We've seen actors cry, we've seen them act in love stories, but what we saw from CanYaman today wasn't a performance. It was a confession that came straight from the soul." In Turkey, the media went into overdrive. Some outlets tried to play it down, calling it a moment of vulnerability. Others claimed it was an emotional declaration of unfinished love. But no matter how they framed it, one truth was clear. Everyone was talking about Demet Özdemir again. The two names that had once been inseparable on screen were now tied together again in reality, this time, through a confession that no one saw coming. And as the noise grew louder, all eyes turned to Demet. Would she respond? Would she ignore it? Would she say something that could end or reignite years of speculation? For 3 days, there was silence. No post. No interview. No comment. Just silence. Then, out of nowhere, Demet shared a photo on her Instagram story. A simple image, a sunset over the sea, the sky painted in pink and gold. No caption. Just one song playing in the background. Some things never really end. It was all she needed to say. The internet exploded again. Fans went wild. Screenshots of her story were everywhere. People compared the colors of her sunset to the golden light from Cannes' recent photos in Rome. They matched the timing of her post to the hour his interview aired. The conclusion was obvious: she had heard him, and she had answered. One fan wrote, "She doesn't need to speak. He spoke for both of them." Another said, "It's like they're still connected, even in silence." While the world debated what it all meant, an insider close to Can revealed to an Italian magazine, he didn't expect her to react. He didn't even plan to talk about her, but once he started, he couldn't stop himself. It was something he'd been carrying for years. That same source added, he told people after the interview that he felt lighter. Like he'd finally said what needed to be said. Meanwhile, tabloids dug up old footage, behind-the-scenes moments from Erkenci Kuss, where Can and Demet would laugh uncontrollably between takes, their chemistry undeniable. Commentators replayed clips from old interviews, moments where their glances lingered a little too long, their smiles a little too real. One Italian journalist wrote, "Maybe what we saw on screen back then wasn't acting. Maybe it was the beginning of something too powerful to hide." As the headlines spread, Can himself stayed quiet. No denials, no clarifications. But his silence spoke volumes until one night, 4 days after the confession, he posted a photo that would make fans cry all over again. It was an old picture. Black and white. He was standing in the rain, looking up at the sky. The caption read, "Sometimes the heart remembers what the mind wants to forget." The comments were flooded within minutes. "Demet, this is for you. He's still in love. This isn't nostalgia, it's confession through silence." Even celebrities began reacting. One of his co-stars commented, "Respect for your honesty, brother." Another wrote, "When the truth comes from pain, it hits differently." Everywhere he went, people asked the same question, "Do you still love her?" He never answered directly. But in a behind-the-scenes video from a recent shoot, when someone jokingly played one of the old songs from their show, he smiled softly and said, "Some memories don't go away. You just learn to live with them." That single sentence reignited everything once again, and while the internet kept exploding with theories and fan edits, one thing became clear: this wasn't a publicity stunt. It wasn't nostalgia. It was real emotion that had lived quietly for years, waiting for the right moment to break free. By now, the entire world had turned its attention to one question: would Demet Özdemir finally break her silence? Her sunset post had been poetic, but people wanted more. They wanted words. They wanted to know if the confession that shook millions had reached her heart the way it had reached theirs. For days, paparazzi waited outside her set, hoping for a reaction. She kept her calm, avoiding interviews, smiling politely, never revealing more than a glance. But behind the cameras, insiders whispered that something had changed. One of her colleagues on set told a reporter, "She was quiet for days. You could tell the interview affected her. She wasn't angry, she was emotional. Thoughtful. Like she was reliving something." And then, on a rainy evening in Istanbul, everything changed again. Demet attended a charity gala. Her first public event since Can's confession. Cameras flashed the moment she walked in, dressed elegantly in black, her expression serene but distant. Everyone could tell she had something on her mind. During the event, a journalist finally asked her the question everyone wanted answered. "Demet, did you hear what Can said in his interview?" The room went silent. All eyes turned to her. She smiled faintly, took a deep breath, and said softly, "Some things don't need to be heard to be felt. I think we all have memories that never really leave us." It wasn't a direct confirmation, but it was enough to make headlines around the world. Demet Özdemir finally responds to CanYaman's confession. "Some memories never leave us," her most emotional statement yet. In Italy, fans translated her words and posted them alongside clips of Can's interview. They played her sentence next to his, and the emotional symmetry was undeniable. Two people, separated by distance and time, speaking in perfect harmony, without ever mentioning each other by name. That night, after the gala, Demet returned home and posted a simple story, an old photo of a coffee cup resting beside a script. On the page, one line was visible: "It wasn't just a role." The fandom went insane. It was like reopening a chapter that had been sealed years ago. People remembered that same line from an interview they gave during their Turkish days. Back then, when asked if their on-screen chemistry was real, Can had laughed and said, "When something feels that natural, maybe it isn't acting anymore." And now, years later, her quiet reminder felt like an echo of that same truth. But just when fans thought the emotional roller coaster had reached its peak, Can made another move that no one saw coming. Late at night, he posted a short clip, only 10 seconds long. The camera showed a burning candle, flickering in the dark. His voice, low and calm, said, "Some lights never go out, no matter how long it's been." The caption read simply, #still grateful. The world went silent again. Because for everyone who had followed their story, that candle wasn't just a symbol. It was a confession. Within hours, both their names trended again globally. Fans wrote messages like, "He's talking to her. They never really ended. You can't fake love that never dies." Even international media joined the discussion. An Italian outlet wrote, "Between two cities, Istanbul and Rome, a quiet dialogue continues. Not through words, but through hearts that still listen." And yet, behind all the public emotion, there was something even deeper happening in private. According to a close friend of Can's, he had recently turned down several interviews and photo shoots. He said he's tired of pretending, the friend revealed. He wants to focus on what's real, not on image, not on fame. That same source added one more detail: that Can had started writing again. Not scripts. Not statements. Letters. Private, personal letters. No one knew who they were for. But everyone had the same guess, because if his confession was the first page of a reopened story, those letters were the continuation of a love that had never truly ended. It had been weeks since the first confession, yet the story refused to fade. Every new move, every post, every silence between Can and Demet seemed to breathe new life into a love that the world couldn't stop talking about. But no one was prepared for what was coming next, the moment that would bring even the strongest fans to tears. Rumors began to spread quietly at first, whispers that CanYaman had written a letter. A private, deeply personal letter. Some claimed he had sent it. Others said he hadn't. But then, an Italian journalist revealed something that shocked everyone. Someone from Can's inner circle confirmed he wrote it, a letter that he said helped him finally speak what he never could out loud. The journalist continued, "He didn't write it for the world. He wrote it for peace. But when you read it, you understand, it was meant for her." Within hours, #the letter became the top trend across social media. Fans were desperate for details. What did he write? Was it really for Demet? And if so, what did it say? A Turkish entertainment magazine soon published a short excerpt, allegedly from that very letter. The handwriting matched Can's. The words were simple, raw, and devastatingly beautiful. "There was never a day I didn't think of you. I just learned to do it quietly." The internet broke. People cried, reposted, translated. Entire fan accounts dedicated to their story exploded overnight. A few days later, another page from the letter surfaced. This time with a line that hit even harder: "We were never over. We were just unfinished." It was the confirmation fans had been waiting for, not from tabloids, not from rumors, but from Ken himself. The words were undeniable, filled with truth, longing, and the kind of pain that comes only from love that never really dies. Even journalists who had doubted the story changed their tone. One wrote, "This isn't PR. This isn't a media stunt. This is a man letting go of pride and speaking straight from the soul." Meanwhile, Demet remained silent, at least publicly. But her silence was louder than any statement. Because 2 days after the letter leaked, she posted a single black and white photo of a half-open window, sunlight breaking through the curtains. Her caption was just one word: "Finally." That one word reignited everything. Fans cried. Comments flooded in by the thousands. She read the letter. This is her answer. After all these years, they finally found peace. It wasn't just social media anymore, it became a global story. News outlets in Italy, Spain, Turkey, and even Latin America covered it. Talk shows discussed it. Headlines read, "The letter that united hearts again. Can and Demet, a love that refused to die." But behind all the noise, those close to Can said something much more touching. One of his friends told a journalist, he didn't write it to get her back. He wrote it to free her. And himself. That's what people don't understand. It wasn't about a new beginning. It was about ending what never truly ended. That statement struck a chord with millions. Because maybe, after all, this wasn't about rekindling an old love. Maybe it was about honoring it, for what it was, what it gave, and what it left behind. The next evening, Ken attended a quiet event in Rome. No red carpets, no cameras, just a small charity dinner. Still, someone snapped a photo of him as he walked out of the venue, head slightly lowered, a faint smile on his face. The image went viral instantly. He looked at peace, lighter, calmer, as if he had finally let go of a burden that had been on his shoulders for years. An Italian newspaper summed it up perfectly the next morning: he didn't write a love letter. He wrote closure, and in doing so, he reminded the world that real love never really needs an ending. But then, as if the universe wanted to add one final touch to this living fairy tale, fans noticed something else. That same night, Demet Özdemir posted a story at exactly the same time, a song playing in the background. It was Love Me Still by Ayten Altman, a classic Turkish song about waiting, forgiving, and remembering. Her caption? Just 2 words, always yours. It was subtle, poetic, and powerful enough to stop the internet again. The love story that began years ago on a TV set had become something much bigger, something timeless, real, and impossibly human. The world had followed their story from the beginning, from laughter-filled sets and on-screen chemistry to silent years and hidden emotions. But now, after the letter, after her answer, after the storm of emotions that swept across continents, everyone knew this wasn't just a love story. It was something deeper. A story about timing, forgiveness, and the kind of love that doesn't need an ending to stay alive. In the days following Demet's post, something remarkable happened. Neither of them said another word. No statements. No interviews. No clarifications. Just silence. But that silence spoke louder than any headline ever could. The world understood, whatever needed to be said had already been spoken. Not through press releases, not through performances, but through letters, gestures, and 2 hearts that had finally learned to breathe again. Then, one evening, Ken made a final move that no one expected. He posted a video, short, cinematic, and heartbreakingly beautiful. It began with him walking through a quiet Roman street at sunset. The light was soft, golden, and warm. In the background, faint piano music played. He stopped in front of a small cafe, looked through the window, and smiled faintly, the kind of smile that carried both nostalgia and peace. The camera panned closer as he whispered, "We all carry someone in our hearts, someone we never stop loving, even when we learn to let them go." Then the screen faded to black. A few seconds later, white text appeared across the darkness, for every story that ended, but never truly finished. The video lasted less than a minute, but it broke the internet. Millions of views in hours. Comments in every language imaginable. This is the closure we all needed. He's saying goodbye, but it's beautiful. You can feel the love in every second of that video. That same night, thousands of fans shared clips of their favorite moments from Erkenci Kuss, the laughter, the stolen glances, the warmth that once lit up screens across the world. For them, this wasn't fiction anymore. It was real. Two souls who had loved, lost, and found peace in a way only true love allows. Meanwhile, Demet stayed silent. But 24 hours after the video, she changed her Instagram bio, quietly, subtly, to a quote that read, "Some stories live forever, even when they're no longer told." It was her final answer. Her way of saying, "I heard you. I understand," and with that, their chapter, at least the public one, came to an end. In the weeks that followed, Ken was seen traveling across Italy. No entourage, no cameras, no chaos, just him, a notebook in his hand, and a peaceful expression that hadn't been there for years. One fan who spotted him in Florence said, he looked free. Not lonely, free. Like someone who finally made peace with his heart. Back in Istanbul, Demet was filming again. But her co-stars noticed something different too. She was calmer, gentler, more grounded. One of them even told a reporter, "It's like she's finally at peace with the past." Whatever she needed to hear, she heard it. Even the press, known for chasing scandal and drama, began to treat the story differently. One Italian magazine published a heartfelt piece titled, "Not Every Love Ends, Some Just Transform." In it, the writer described their story not as a tragedy, but as a testament to human connection, proof that love, when real, never truly dies. It just changes form. Weeks later, Ken gave one final interview.